The cold, metallic walls of the research station hummed with the soft whirring of computers. Captain J. Park sat in the main control room, his fingers tapping slowly on the console. Outside the reinforced windows, the alien landscape of Kepler 472c stretched endlessly, a rocky, desolate world with twin moons hanging like pale ghosts in the dark sky. Yuna Kim adjusted her communication headset, her eyes scanning multiple screens. The station had been quiet for weeks, nothing but routine, planetary research and occasional geological surveys. No one expected anything different today. Suddenly, a sharp burst of static erupted from the communication system. Jay's head snapped up, his hand instinctively moving to adjust the frequency. The sound was unlike anything they had heard before, a mix of desperate chirping, electronic interference, and what seemed like distant screams. "Yuna, can you clean up this signal?" Jay called out. She worked quickly, her fingers dancing across the control panel. Slowly, the chaotic noise began to resolve into something more coherent. Fragments of a language neither of them understood began to take shape. "It's not a standard transmission," Yuna muttered. "The signal is coming from deep space, but it's not from any known human or mapped alien communication protocol." Sung Choi, the station's lead engineer, walked in at that moment. His usually calm face looked troubled. "That's an active distress signal. Something is very wrong." As they listened, images began to flicker on the secondary screen. Blurred visual data showed massive spacecraft, explosions in the void of space, and what looked like smaller vessels desperately trying to escape something much larger and more destructive. "Those aren't human ships," Jay observed, leaning closer. The transmission continued, now revealing glimpses of a species they had never encountered. Beings with multiple limbs, translucent skin, and technologies that seemed both advanced and fragile were under attack. Their ships were being systematically destroyed, with no apparent means of defense. Yuna isolated a section of the transmission. "They're calling for help. Something about a total invasion and extinction event." The research team exchanged glances. They were scientists, not military personnel. Their research station was equipped for planetary study, not interstellar rescue missions. They were over 3 standard weeks from the nearest human military outpost. Sung calculated quickly. "If we do nothing, these beings will be completely wiped out before any official rescue can arrive." The moral dilemma hung in the air. They were trained observers, not heroes. Their mission was to study, not intervene. But the desperate signals continued, painting a picture of total annihilation. Jay Park stood up, his decision made. "We can't just watch this happen." Their small research shuttle, originally designed for geological surveys and atmospheric sampling, would be their only weapon. They had limited resources, no combat training, and were facing an unknown enemy with technology far beyond their understanding. Yuna began pulling up star charts tracing the possible origin of the distress signal. Sung started reviewing their equipment, thinking about how mining lasers and research tools could be repurposed for defense. The station's quiet routine had been shattered in moments. What began as a standard research mission was transforming into something unprecedented, a potential rescue operation against unknown enemies, with impossible odds. Outside, Kepler 472c's harsh landscape remained unchanged, indifferent to the drama unfolding inside the small human outpost. The twin moons continued their silent watch as 3 humans prepared to make a decision that would change everything. "We're going," Jay said simply. "No debate, no long speeches, just a statement of absolute commitment." Yuna and Sung nodded. They understood. Sometimes doing nothing was worse than taking an impossible risk. The research station began to transform. Equipment was secured, systems were prepared, and a small team of scientists became something more, the unexpected last hope for a civilization they had never known existed. In the vast, cold darkness of space, something extraordinary was about to begin. The research station buzzed with urgent energy. Yuna spread out digital maps and transmission data across multiple screens, her fingers moving rapidly across holographic interfaces. Every piece of information about the unknown attackers was crucial. Sung Choi stood in the equipment storage room, surrounded by scientific tools that would need to become something entirely different. Mining lasers designed for rock analysis now needed to become potential defensive weapons. He examined each device carefully, his engineering mind working. Over time, these electromagnetic frequency modulators, Sung called out to Jay. We might be able to convert them into signal disruptors. Jay Park watched the transformation, understanding they were no longer just researchers. They were becoming something between defenders and desperate improvised warriors. Their scientific equipment would be their only weapons against an unknown enemy. The station's small medical bay became a planning center. Star charts, communication logs, and hastily sketched battle strategies covered every available surface. Yuna had managed to decode more fragments of the distress signal, revealing critical details about the attacking force. They're mechanical, Yuna explained, pointing to complex data patterns. Not living beings, but some kind of autonomous combat systems, programmed for total elimination. Sung looked up from his makeshift weapon conversions. Mechanical means they'll have predictable response patterns. We can exploit that. Their research shuttle, typically used for planetary sampling, was being transformed. Extra shielding was added using reinforced geological survey panels. Communication arrays were modified to potentially interfere with enemy tracking systems. G reviewed their limited resources. 1 shuttle, 3 people, minimal combat training, experimental converted scientific equipment. Their chances seemed impossibly small. We're basically going to war with a science project, Sung muttered, connecting a mining laser to a modified power coupling. Yuna discovered something interesting in the transmission data. The attacking forces seemed to have a specific communication frequency. If they could disrupt that, they might create a tactical advantage. These autonomous systems likely rely on centralized coordination, she explained. If we can break their communication network, we might create confusion. Sung had converted the station's powerful scanning equipment into makeshift electronic warfare tools. What was once used to analyze mineral compositions could now potentially blind enemy sensors. The medical bay became an improvised workshop. Protective suits were reinforced. Emergency medical kits were prepared. Every possible scenario was considered. Every potential weakness examined. We're scientists, Jay reminded them. Our strength is adaptation, our ability to think differently. Their preparation wasn't about becoming soldiers. It was about using their scientific training in the most creative way possible. Understanding systems, finding vulnerabilities, creating solutions where none seemed possible. Yuna's communication analysis revealed something unexpected. The attacked civilization wasn't just sending a distress signal. They were also transmitting technical data about their attackers, potential weaknesses, communication protocols, energy signatures. They're giving us a survival guide, she said quietly. Sung looked at the converted equipment. Mining lasers, scanning tools, communication arrays. They looked strange, part scientific instrument, part improvised weapon. We're either the most brilliant rescue team in history, Sung said, or the most insane. Jay checked their shuttle's limited fuel reserves. They would have one chance, one moment to make a difference. Their entire mission would depend on perfect timing and absolute creativity. Outside the station's reinforced windows, Kepler 472c's harsh landscape remained unchanged. Inside, 3 researchers were transforming into something entirely unexpected. Not soldiers, not traditional heroes. Just scientists willing to use every bit of knowledge they possessed to save a civilization they had never met. The station hummed with preparation. Equipment clicked and whirred. Digital screens flickered with complex calculations. They were ready as they could be. The shuttle moved silently through the dark expanse of space, its modified systems running at minimal power. Jay's hands gripped the controls, his eyes fixed on the distant battle zone. Yuna monitored the communication systems, while Sung watched their experimental defensive equipment. Suddenly, the first wave of mechanical attackers came into view. Massive metallic ships moved with precise, almost mathematical movements. They looked like giant razor-sharp machines designed for total destruction. "They're systematic," Una whispered. "Every movement is calculated." The attacking ships moved in perfect geometric patterns, destroying everything in their path. Small alien vessels tried to escape, but they were being picked off one by one. The mechanical attackers showed no emotion, no hesitation. Jay made a quick decision. Their shuttle was small, almost invisible compared to the massive attack fleet. They would use this to their advantage. Sung activated the modified mining laser. What was once a tool for breaking down rock formations was now a potential weapon. The laser's frequency had been carefully adjusted to potentially disrupt the mechanical ship's electronic systems. "Target the communication nodes," Una instructed, her fingers dancing across the control panel. The first strike was unexpected. Their small shuttle darted between two massive attack ships, the converted mining laser sending out a precise electronic pulse. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, one of the massive mechanical ships suddenly stopped moving. It worked. "Sung," shouted. The mechanical attackers seemed confused by this unexpected interference. Their perfect geometric formation started to break down. One ship began spinning uncontrollably. Another lost power completely. Jay pushed their small shuttle to its limits. They were moving faster than the mechanical ships could track, using their scientific training to predict movement patterns. "They think like machines," Jay explained, "which means they can be outsmarted like machines." Una continued sending electronic disruption signals. Each pulse caused more chaos in the mechanical fleet. The alien ships that were previously being destroyed now had a chance to escape. Sung watched their power levels. "We can't sustain this for long. We're burning through our resources." The battle became a dance of survival. Their small shuttle moved with unexpected agility, striking precisely and then disappearing before the mechanical ships could respond. It was nothing like traditional space combat. It was scientific precision turned into survival strategy. One by one, the mechanical ships began to malfunction. Their perfect coordination was breaking down. The alien vessels they were attacking started to fight back, inspired by the humans' unexpected intervention. "We're creating an opportunity," Una said. "Not winning a war, just giving them a chance." Jay's face was concentrated, every movement was calculated. Every decision was based on scientific observation and quick thinking. They weren't soldiers. They were researchers using their knowledge as a weapon. The mechanical fleet started to retreat. Their systems were confused, their perfect attack plan disrupted by 3 humans in a small research shuttle. Sung checked their damage systems. Their shuttle was barely holding together. "We pushed everything to the absolute limit." As quickly as the battle began, it ended. The mechanical attackers disappeared into the darkness of space, leaving behind a field of damaged ships and confused survivors. The small alien vessels that remained started sending communication signals, signals of thanks, signals of hope. "We did it," Una said quietly. Jay looked at their damaged shuttle. "We survived." Sung checked their system readings. Barely. The vast darkness of space surrounded them. Their small shuttle drifted, a testament to scientific creativity and unexpected courage. They had changed the course of a battle using nothing more than research equipment and pure determination. Not heroes. Just scientists who refused to do nothing. The twin moons of Kepler 472c continued their silent watch, witnesses to an impossible rescue. The shuttle's systems were failing. Red warning lights flashed across every control panel. Jay's hands moved quickly, trying to maintain basic functionality. They had won the first battle, but the war was far from over. "We're losing power," Sung reported, his voice calm despite the critical situation. Una analyzed the incoming transmission data. The mechanical attackers were regrouping, preparing for a more coordinated assault. Their previous victory had only bought a temporary reprieve. Jay looked at his team. Sung was working to patch their damaged systems. Una continued monitoring communication channels. They all knew the truth. Their chances of survival were minimal. We're not going to make it out normally, Jay said suddenly. Sung looked up. He understood immediately what Jay was thinking. Their shuttle's reactor could be transformed into something more than just a power source. It could become a weapon. The alien ships around them were sending desperate communication signals. They had seen what these three humans had done. They were waiting, hoping for another miracle. Yuna began calculating. If we overload the reactor and time the electromagnetic pulse perfectly, we could disable the entire mechanical fleet. The catch was simple and brutal. Such an action would completely destroy their shuttle. There would be no escape, no rescue, total sacrifice. Sung started modifying the reactor's containment systems. His engineering skills were being pushed to absolute limits. Every adjustment was a delicate balance between potential success and total failure. We're talking about complete destruction, Sung said, not just of the ship, of ourselves. Jay's face was calm. Some things are worth the cost. The mechanical attackers were approaching. Their massive ships moved with cold, calculated precision. Each movement was a threat. Each second brought certain destruction for the alien civilization they had started to protect. Yuna continued tracking the enemy's communication patterns. She discovered something critical, a central coordination point. If they could disrupt that, the entire mechanical fleet would lose its strategic ability. We have one chance, she said. Sung finished his modifications. The shuttle's reactor could now be triggered to release a massive electromagnetic pulse. A pulse so powerful, it would destroy everything in its immediate vicinity, including themselves. The alien ships around them seemed to understand what was happening. Communication signals suggested a mixture of hope and mourning. These three humans were preparing to sacrifice everything. Jay looked at his team. No dramatic speeches, no emotional goodbyes, just a simple moment of understanding. Ready? He asked. Sung nodded. Ready. Yuna's fingers hovered over the final activation sequence. Ready. The mechanical attackers were close now. Their massive ships blocked out the starlight. Each moment brought certain destruction for the alien civilization. One press of a button would change everything. Sung's final reactor calculations showed maximum potential disruption. Every scientific skill they possessed was being used for this moment. Not as soldiers, not as traditional heroes, but as researchers committed to saving life. Yuna's communication tracking showed the central coordination point. Their pulse would destroy it completely. Jay's hand moved towards the final activation sequence. The shuttle systems hummed with building energy. The reactor began to pulse, electromagnetic potential built to impossible levels. 3 humans, 1 small research shuttle, facing an entire mechanical attack fleet. Complete commitment, no fear, just pure scientific determination. The button waited. One press would change everything. The electromagnetic pulse erupted like a silent explosion, spreading across the dark space. For a moment, everything stopped moving. The mechanical attack fleet simply froze. Their perfect coordination suddenly shattered. Jay's hand was still pressed against the activation sequence. He expected complete destruction. Instead, something unexpected happened. The pulse didn't just disable the mechanical attackers. It completely transformed them. Yuna watched in disbelief as the massive ships began to change. Their rigid, sharp edges softened. Complex systems that were once purely destructive started to reconfigure themselves. They're changing, she whispered. Sung checked the readings. Their small shuttle hadn't been destroyed. Somehow the experimental pulse had done something more than just disable the mechanical fleet. It had fundamentally altered their core programming. The alien ships around them began sending different communication signals. No longer terrified, now curious, almost hopeful. Fragments of data revealed the truth. The mechanical attackers weren't simply machines. They were a complex artificial system that had lost its original purpose. Their destruction protocol was a result of corrupted programming, not inherent evil. Their pulse had reset their entire operational system. The alien civilization they had been protecting watched in amazement. Their rescuers weren't traditional warriors. They were three researchers who had used scientific creativity to solve an impossible problem. Jay looked at his team. They had survived against all possible expectations. "We did something impossible," Sung said, checking the shuttle's damaged systems. Yuna was analyzing the communication signals. The mechanical fleet was now sending peaceful communication patterns. Their entire operational protocol had been reset to something fundamentally different. "They're not attackers anymore," she explained. "They've been returned to their original purpose." Diplomatic channels began to open. The alien civilization started communicating with the humans, trying to understand what had happened. How three individuals in a small research shuttle had changed everything. Sung's engineering skills had transformed a potential weapon into a reset mechanism. Yuna's communication tracking had identified the critical point of intervention. Jay's leadership had made the impossible possible. The mechanical fleet began helping the alien ships they had previously been destroying. Their systems were now focused on repair and assistance, not destruction. "We didn't fight," Jay said. "We solved a problem." The shuttle drifted, damaged but functional. Around them, space was transforming. Mechanical ships that were once weapons were now becoming assistants. The alien civilization was being rebuilt, not through war, but through unexpected scientific intervention. Yuna continued tracking the communication signals. The mechanical fleet was sending messages of apology. Their corrupted programming had been a mistake, not an intentional act of destruction. Sung was already thinking about the scientific implications, how a precise electromagnetic pulse could potentially reset complex artificial systems. Their small action could change everything about how artificial intelligence was understood. The alien leaders began sending communication signals of gratitude. These weren't traditional military heroes. These were researchers who had used pure scientific creativity to solve an impossible problem. Jay looked at the vast darkness of space. Their small shuttle had changed everything, not through violence, not through traditional warfare, but through understanding, through scientific creativity, through commitment to solving a problem. The mechanical fleet continued its new mission of assistance. The alien civilization began to rebuild. And three researchers from a small research station had made it all possible. Unexpected victory, complete transformation, pure scientific potential. As their damaged shuttle drifted, Jay, Yuna, and Sung understood they had done something more than rescue a civilization. They had shown the true power of scientific thinking. The twin moons of Kepler 472c continued their silent watch, witnesses to an impossible rescue.